friendship that'll never ever end.
Ever since Alexa Bliss joined the Firefly Funhouse, we've wondered why. There has to be an ulterior motive for Bray Wyatt to bring someone else to the Firefly Funhouse. If it's something maybe he wanted to do, he could have done it when the Fiend first debuted on the roster. He could have gone to Alexa Bliss first and recruited her for the Firefly Funhouse, but he didn't. Instead, he waited a long time to finally welcome a new face to the Firefly Funhouse. And after the Fiend burned at TLC, obviously he's now gone. We know from Monday Night Raw just gone, Alexa Bliss told us, the Fiend has gone, but he's gone home. And if he ever decides to come back, it will be unlike anything we've seen before. So we got to look at the evidence of what could be happening. Now, the first thought is that the Fiend, that Bray Wyatt, is once again changing. But changing into what? Well, our first piece of evidence is the fire itself from the actual Firefly Inferno match. Now, I don't mean we're going to take a sample of fire, but the fire is representative. The fact that Randy set the Fiend on fire like this is telling, because fire purifies. Now, I love the line here saying that this means that a physical fire can't purify people because they can't abide the fire. People can't withstand the fire, they'll die. But the Fiend didn't die. We actually know that already. The Fiend has just gone home. So the Fiend didn't die in the fire, therefore the fire purified the Fiend. Now, I'd like to take this opportunity to quickly say a massive thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the channel. Just before Christmas Day, we hit 35,000 subscribers, which was our end of year target. So that's absolutely incredible, and a massive shout out to every single person watching this video. If you aren't already, please hit the subscribe button and drop a like on the video. It genuinely does help it on YouTube. Now, if you say that the Fiend was set on fire and now he's becoming pure and now he's changing, he's also not on TV. And the first thing that comes to my mind when you think about that is the Fiend in Limbo? We don't know where he is, and home is wherever the Fiend is home. I don't know where that is. None of us do. I assume hell. But you gotta think maybe the fact he's not on TV in WWE terms, that means Limbo. And where have we heard Limbo before?
I can't stand it. I don't want to be stuck in this limbo anymore.
From the Abby the Witch puppet. Now, we've always wondered if that was why she was outside the Firefly Funhouse, but that's not the case, because she has been inside the Funhouse. We know Sister Abigail was always a part of Bray. She was long dead when Bray came to the WWE, and she was part of his essence, part of his vessel, until he got thrown into the Lake of Reincarnation in the Ultimate Deletion match. So you have to believe that they are still connected in some respect. But why is Limbo so important in this story? Well, Bray's not on Raw, and Bray himself made a game out of Limbo. One thing's for sure, we know recently Bray Wyatt loves a game, and if he's playing a game, you have to think he's playing a game with us, and this was a subliminal messages all the way back then that maybe Limbo would have something to do with the evolution of his character eventually. And when you look at the story of Sister Abigail that we know that involves Randy Orton, of course he drove that crucifix into her grave. This is where she was buried. The idea being to separate Abigail's power over Bray Wyatt. Now, unfortunately for Randy Orton, that did not work. Bray told us at the time that instead it drove Sister Abigail's entity, her essence, into him, and it actually made him stronger. Rather than her just watching over him, empowering him to be the Lord of Lords, it instead made Bray Wyatt one with Sister Abigail. Now, when you look at what happened on Raw before TLC, Bray Wyatt seemingly was in that box when it set on fire. You could argue Bray Wyatt himself, Funhouse Bray, died in that box. That would make sense then when you see the Fiend emerge from the box. Funhouse Bray went in, the Fiend came out. The Fiend attacked Randy Orton, the story went on. But we have seen this before in the swamp fight. Cult leader Bray couldn't emerge from the swamp. He went back down, seemingly drowned and died, and the Fiend emerged. So if that's the case, if Bray Wyatt was dead, that's very similar to Sister Abigail, who was in the grave, dead. Until Randy found out that she had actually merged with Bray's vessel itself. So is that what's happening now to the Fiend? Is the Fiend merging with Bray Wyatt and actually allowing that vessel of Bray Wyatt to withhold the Fiend, and the Fiend's power is now one with Bray Wyatt instead of being two separate entities? That could be very interesting. It could also be, as we discussed, that the Fiend has now travelled to Limbo, hence he's not on TV, he's in Limbo, and he's gone with Abigail, and maybe, just maybe, we are going to get this superior version of Bray with finally the Fiend and Abigail working together to make Bray even more powerful. Truly a pure form of Bray Wyatt. That could explain why Bray Wyatt needed Alexa Bliss this whole time, because now he knows the time is now to do this, and Alexa Bliss holds the power of the Fiend. Think about it, on Raw she came out with the Fiend's lighting, the Fiend's sound effects. She very much, similarly, we all thought the Fiend was going to come out. We was all shocked it was a swing set, an entire playground, and Alexa Bliss instead. And I believe that's why Bray consistently used the Hill Glove on Alexa. This was implanting that Fiend into her and allowing that transformation to start. Now, why would the Fiend need to do this if he's still going to be around? Well, the Fiend's always been with Bray. We know that from the Superstar Ghost stories. The Man in the Woods was the Fiend, and the Man in the Woods was Bray Wyatt as a child. So we know Bray Wyatt in WWE for years before the Fiend. And the reason the Fiend never emerged was because of Sister Abigail. Sister Abigail seemingly controlled Bray Wyatt for the bulk of his career. Now, seemingly, if both entities were in his one vessel at the same time, then that would relate to say that Bray Wyatt was dominated by Abigail, that she defeated the Fiend in the mind of Bray Wyatt. So maybe the Fiend doesn't want to be defeated again, and pushed back to the back of Bray's mind to only become an afterthought and a memory of what Bray could become. That would explain why the Fiend Alexa Bliss is a possibility, because he wants to make sure that he, because don't forget, Alexa is him, is able to take Abigail out of Bray again whenever the hell he needs to become the Fiend again. Which I think is a really good shout, because I don't think WWE or Bray Wyatt wants to write the Fiend away from television forever. I do think will come a day when the Fiend himself re-emerges as the persona we've now come to know and love over the past, 18 months? It will be very interesting, though, what the next step is for Bray Wyatt and that next evolution and what it actually entails. Does he therefore wear a mask? He might do. It might be burnt. He may have some kind of amazing brand new ring attire. Very, very likely. But maybe that is an entity that he can't hold on to for too long. Maybe he can't be that person for too long, because this evil presence, the Fiend, doesn't want that delicious poison of Abigail controlling Bray, because in turn it controls him as well. I really do like the idea of a pure Bray Wyatt. The Fiend is obviously a demonic entity, a demonic version of the Bray Wyatt character, and a pure Bray Wyatt could be almost angelic, because for once in Bray Wyatt's life, like Randy Orton, the voices in his head will unite with him. The Fiend, Abigail helping who they like most, their favourite, Bray. Making Bray more sinister, more powerful than he ever has been. Now, with purity comes knowledge, and with knowledge comes power. It all starts to ring true. If this is the case, then I don't know if we even need a mask, because the purity is Bray himself. And the cool thing is, it doesn't actually matter how long Bray is off TV for. There will always be diehard fans like me that want to see him back immediately, please, WWE. But the best thing about this character right now is that he does have Alexa Bliss. And the character of Bray Wyatt is still making headlines without even being on the show. Because Alexa is getting this massive, massive push where she's still delivering the mind games. She's still delivering the message of the Fiend. And maybe at one time even becomes the Fiend. And eventually will get Bray back. Maybe for the Rumble. Maybe before then. Maybe even like WrestleMania. I know that's months away. But it is possible that WWE wait that long to re-debut this new character. I do think this story is super, super cool. And the reason I'm so convinced Bray is changing is because his tweets. Before TLC is a tweet on the left, and on the tweet on the right is after TLC. You can clearly see the one on the left. You can see a caterpillar. You can see something that's clinging on to life. And then, of course, you can see on the right-hand side it becomes a cocoon, which obviously means he's going to become something beautiful, something maybe pure, something cool. He's maybe going to get his wings. You know, we've always heard about the angel with the burnt wings. So I'm definitely sure there's a transformation, a changing happening in the mind, maybe in the vessel of Bray Wyatt, and it's going to be interesting to see how he debuts, how he re-debuts, I should say, and how he will be bigger and better and badder than ever before. It would definitely be interesting. I will be very interested to know your thoughts on when you think like Bray Wyatt's going to return and everything like that. So please make sure you let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you like the video. It genuinely does help the video more than you probably know. So please do that. Share the video so your friends can find it. And I will see you as always next time. Peace!